Royal Rumble was last night.
Yes, it was.
In one of the more eventful weeks in pro wrestling I can remember in a while. This just kind of capped it off yesterday, and there's a lot to unpack. Wouldn't you say, Fish? I think there's a lot to unpack from yesterday.
I think that's a fair way of putting it.
Someone stuffed the suitcase up to 50 pounds.
At least.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is.
There's a lot there, and it was some of the better storytelling that WWE has done. And someone said, and I do not know who necessarily, but I do not want to steal. This is not my quote. They said it was obvious that Vince McMahon did not book this Royal Rumble.
Clearly. There were some old school elements in the Rumble, but we'll kind of get to this. But this was, and it's funny. It's being graded out. I'm seeing a lot of people whose opinions I really do respect are kind of saying first the men's match was like a B plus, a B-ish, somewhere in there. And I really enjoyed it. I thought that this match had set up some incredible matchups during the match. Like you had Sheamus and Gunther to start things off. You got Drew McIntyre involved.
You're burying part of the headline, which to me was, and it's as silly as it sounds, before the match even started, we had the first return of the night with Pat McAfee coming back.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that. Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, Pat McAfee, of course, was doing color commentary on SmackDown, but got recruited to do ESPN College Game Day, so he got pulled off, and now he's back. And
he got a huge ovation.
Yeah, Michael Cole looked like, apparently Michael didn't even know that he was coming back. It was supposedly a surprise to him. I don't know, maybe they acted that up, but Cole even said on the broadcast, I was just FaceTiming you a few hours ago when you were in Indianapolis. What's going on? So maybe we got a little surprised, or maybe we got a fake, but who knows?
I think the reason, and I'm not going to give it away, but I think the reason why a lot of people are giving it a B or a B plus is because the ending was pretty much a foregone conclusion of the men's Royal Rumble. That was part of the problem.
That might be part of it, but I think sometimes, when we do what we do and we follow professional wrestling so closely, that to a point when you're reading all the dirt sheets and the rumor mills and everything else, it does take away from it a little bit, because, we all kind of knew Cody was going to win this thing last night.
See, I was trying not to give it away. You just did.
I did. Well, it was already given away. So
yeah, that's true.
So, we're kind of like, okay, there's, Cody won, but
how we got there is and that was my point about Vince McMahon not booking this Rumble, is how we got there was as good as watching Cody win.
The way that they set this up, I'm thinking back to that Rumble a couple of years ago that was an absolute disaster.
The one that Roman Reigns won in Philadelphia where he got booed?
The one that, no, nothing like that. The one where Shane McMahon got to the Final Four a couple of years ago.
Yes, okay.
That ended up causing him to be dismissed.
Wasn't that last year?
2 years ago, I believe that was.
Was it 2 years ago? Okay.
But you, as I was saying, we started this thing off with Gunther and Sheamus, and Johnny Gargano gets in there. Karrion Kross got knocked out a little early for my tastes.
Yeah, and after losing to Rey Mysterio on SmackDown, it's like, okay. And this is something else I saw, so they're just waiting for him to get the helmet back now.
Oh, God, don't even say that. He had if you didn't know, when before he was released from WWE, they gave him a gladiator-esque gimmick after having him build up as this mysterious killer dude.
And he lost in his first match to Jeff Hardy when his original call-up.
It was horrendous. But as this match went on, I thought one of the cool things that ended up happening was, Lesnar came in 12. And by the way, if you don't know how the Royal Rumble works, you start off with two people, and every few minutes another wrestler comes in.
I think it's every 90 seconds, isn't it?
Yeah, and then eventually 30 people get into this match, and you have to get thrown over the top rope.
29 yesterday.
So, yeah, we're getting there. I'm giving the fundamentals of the match. So, and if you get thrown to the top rope, you're out. So last man standing wins the match and gets a shot at the World Championship at WrestleMania. And what was really cool was you had Gunther and Sheamus who loved to just tear each other apart. And then you sneak in Cross. Then you sneaked in Drew McIntyre. And by that point, you got some pretty heavy hitters. And Brock Lesnar shows up. Lesnar comes out. He's pounding on some people, but all of a sudden he looks around and sees some beef in the ring. And it's not an easy road for him. And then all of a sudden Bobby Lashley is the next guy out. So now you've got Lesnar in a rather difficult spot. And, then Seth Rollins comes out. Lesnar did not come, like he did a couple of years ago where he came into the Rumble and just killed everybody.
Yeah, and then Drew knocked him out with the Claymore.
This was a lot different situation. And, Lesnar gets knocked out in a few minutes, which
shocking.
I thought was interesting. I'm not criticizing it. It kind of made sense.
Yeah, I think they did that obviously to set up because the person who eliminated Lesnar was Bobby Lashley.
Right.
And they're setting up obviously Lesnar and Lashley probably at WrestleMania, if not Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and then Otis came out there too in that whole thing.
Yeah.
So big beefy Otis. I mean, I know Chad Gable was in there for a while too, and I really wanted to see Gable and Lesnar go at it because of course Lesnar won a national championship in Minnesota. Gable was an Olympic wrestler. Different, right now different weight classifications, but that's a match I would personally like to see just as a fan of wrestling, period.
Yeah, when it comes to the Royal Rumble, though, I feel sorry for guys like Xavier Woods and Santos Escobar because they're not going to get a mention as being in the Rumble, even though obviously they were a part of the Rumble.
Yeah, and there was, unfortunately, we had another blown spot. And this is kind of where the negatives came in a little bit. We had the blown spot with Kofi. Of course, Kofi Kingston comes in and every year does some sort of stunt to save himself from getting eliminated because when you go over the top rope, both your feet have to hit the floor. So he's managed to pull off all these crazy things like jumping over to the barricade or finding another table or finding some
getting
way.
Caught by Big E and by Xavier.
Yeah, I mean, something that saves him from getting eliminated that everybody goes, oh, and then into the match, back into the match he goes. Well, last
Only
year
to get eliminated a minute later.
Yeah. Well, last year they had a botched spot.
He tried to jump to the barricade and he missed.
Yeah, and this time Woods had been eliminated. He was outside the ring, and Woods saw that Kofi was going to be eliminated, and he pulled a rolling chair, office chair out to try to have Kofi land on it, and then they were going to roll him back to the ring. Well, unfortunately, when Kofi hit the chair, he didn't quite hit it right and caught the end of the table, and the chair tipped, and he was eliminated. So the spot got blown again.
Yeah, but at the same time, because unless Kofi was going to win it, the fact that it got blown doesn't hurt the match itself.
No, it didn't. It's just it was kind of sad to see that happen to him twice now.
Right.
But that was one thing. And then Rey Mysterio was supposed to come out at number 17. And the music played and we're waiting for Rey, and then no Rey. And then his bratty little son, the prison boy, hardened criminal, Dominic Mysterio comes out with Rey's mask on. Tried to rip it, couldn't do it. That was a bad idea.
Apparently, Rey was legit injured on SmackDown Friday.
Yeah, so they just set up an angle that
Dominic beat him up backstage.
That Dom beat up Rey backstage. Yeah, so that happened. Elias came out. He got a guitar shot in on Gunther, which cut his back, by the way. If you didn't see that, that was not good. Booker T showed up. Of course, this was in San Antonio. He does his reality of wrestling in Houston, so he was pretty nearby. And
nice little spinneroonie.
Yeah, Booker got in there and had a little fun for about a minute or two before he got knocked out.
By Gunther. Gunther eliminated like 17 guys, it felt like.
Gunther was amazing. We had Judgment Day running the table for a while there until Mr. Edge shows up.
And just destroyed Judgment Day, which was perfect.
Beautiful.
And Beth Phoenix showed up during the Men's Royal Rumble.
Yes, she did.
Not during the Women's.
Because Rhea got involved in this whole fiasco, Rhea Ripley, and Beth took her out. Pow.
Setting something up there, too.
Yeah, so and then you get some more beef in there. You got Austin Theory gets in, Omos is in, Braun Strowman follows him in, so they have another showdown, which I was cool with. Then you get Ricochet, Logan Paul, and then Cody was the last man in.
Number 30.
Now, we'll talk a little bit more about the match itself and what was probably the spot of the men's Royal Rumble match when we come back, because we do have to get a break in here. So stick around for more on the Mark Hoke Show. It's Royal Rumble-y day. And when we get to that second hour, AEW had some pretty big stuff happen too, by the way, this week with the Jay Briscoe tribute show the tribute match, I should say. The tribute show is going to be on Ring of Honor. But great to see Mark Briscoe on there. But we'll talk about that next hour too. So a lot more to come on the Mark Hoke Show. Stick around. We will be right back.
.1015 FM KDWN.
This is the Mark Hoke Show.
The Mark Hoke Show.
Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, let's get back to the pro wrestling action. Best in the multiverse. That's what we like to say around here.
Darn tootin'.
Yeah. Darn tootin'. Very nice. You've been in your 1700s, 1800s gala there, Fish. You bringing out the darn tootin'.
Yes, sir.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us. And your Fish Fain. And hopefully we'll have Joe DeFalco. He is setting up for his big event over at Silver Nugget today. Get on over there at fswvegas.com. So this was not one of those really spotty Royal Rumbles where you have the popping individual moments.
No, but go ahead.
But there was one that I don't know if anybody's going to ever forget.
The Ricochet and...
Dude, this looked like it was out of the Matrix. I'm not kidding. Go get your Peacock and watch this. Logan Paul is an incredible athlete.
Yes, he is.
You forget the internet stuff. If you didn't see him wrestle Roman Reigns earlier, late last year, he was amazing. He really was.
I was blown away by how good he was in that match against Roman Reigns.
Then you have Ricochet, who
the one and only.
One of his biggest moments was the series of that 10-minute series that he had, or sequence he had with Will Ospreay over in Japan, that everybody still watches and is blown away that the two of them pulled it off. Ricochet can fly. The two of them were on either side of the ring and started jacking jaws at each other. And Logan's like, let's go for it. They jump up on the top rope on either side of the ring and fly at each other in the air. And they didn't just go straight across. They went up on an arc and then did the cross-body collision. So one turns one way, one turns the other, and
it was done
their
to perfection.
Unbelievable.
Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
They did.
Yeah, I know.
They did. I was blown away. I mean, like I said, with any actor, you might have had to CGI that, and it wouldn't have looked as good.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
It was one of the best Royal Rumble spots I've ever seen.
Yeah. So that spot is just worth watching. I'm sure it's all over the internet at this point. So that was kind of how the
Rumble itself
as it rolled on. But then, of course, we got down to the final four. It was Logan Paul, Cody, Seth Rollins, and Gunther, who Gunther went all the way to the end of this thing.
Yep.
An hour and 10 minutes of just pummeling people, and amazing performance by him last night.
They must really, really be high on Gunther to have him last that long and do what he did.
Well, it was funny that Vince was going to fire him a while ago.
Yeah, well,
which I heard that. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Well, they didn't, and look what he's done.
If you ever saw the matches that he had with Ilya Dragunov a couple of years ago, just amazing matches, and Gunther is just something else.
I still hate the name. He should have stuck with Walter.
Yeah, well, that was the Vince McMahon edict of you can't have a part of your real name in the mix. And once they changed it, they didn't want to change it back again. But Logan Paul took Seth Rollins out of the match, so there's going to be
which is shocking in a sense, because a guy like Seth Rollins doing a job for Logan Paul to be allowed to be eliminated by Logan Paul says a lot about what not only the heads of WWE, but the wrestlers think of Logan Paul.
Yeah, he's really good at what he's doing. So Rollins got knocked out by Paul, and then they got rid of Logan, and ended up going down to Cody and Gunther, who had started this Royal Rumble off, and an hour and 10 minutes later, Cody Rhodes has won it. And
Cody had 5 eliminations too.
Yeah, so Cody Rhodes will be headed to WrestleMania in the main event
against the champion of his choice.
Yeah, but I think the question is that who is that champion going to be? Because right now Roman Reigns, of course, has both belts. No, it's not.
He's going for the NXT championship.
He's not going for the NXT championship. His daddy didn't want him didn't hold up that NXT championship in 1979. Thank you.
His daddy didn't hold the WWE championship, nor did he hold the Universal championship in 1979 either.
Well, he held the belt up. That's where that picture came from.
Yeah,
the inspiration.
Right. I will say this: the two things that I was shocked about in this were that Nick Aldis didn't show up, who I was fully expecting to be there, and that Matt Cardona didn't show up, who I was fully expecting to be there.
There was a lot of rumors about Jay White too.
Yeah.
None of them showed up, so there wasn't really.
In the men's, there was no major surprise because everyone knew that Cody Rhodes was coming back. I guess the biggest surprise was Booker T.
In terms of bringing people back, yeah.
Yeah, because usually there's like at least 4 guys you go, oh, wow, look who's back. And there really wasn't that moment because Edge coming back, as good as it was, everyone knew that this was about when he would be back anyway.
Yeah, Johnny Gargano came back from his injury too, so he was in there last night. He went a good half hour.
Yeah, but again, it wasn't.
But it's not like a surprise.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one of the things you come to expect. And the fact that it didn't happen may have been the bigger surprise.
I think that this Royal Rumble on the men's side shows the depth that is in WWE right now. Because you just had 30 guys in there that all main roster guys.
Yeah, but I say there are no NXT guys. Right?
Didn't pull anybody up from NXT. Just let their current rosters do the talking. And I thought they did last night. To me, the men's match was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I would recommend watching it and just see a lot of great, talented athletes doing their thing.
How did this set up for Elimination Chamber, do you think?
I don't know.
Because that's in 3 weeks.
I would imagine you might see, because there's a rumor that Seth Rollins may be winning one of the championships at Elimination Chamber.
The problem with that is if they're setting up Logan Paul and Seth Rollins, that doesn't work.
Well, if you put them in the Elimination Chamber, it would work. You could have them fight in the Elimination Chamber.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
the Elimination Chamber.
I know, but you can't give one of the pods to Logan Paul.
Sure, you can. Why not?
No, because there are too many other guys that have earned a spot to wrestle for the championship.
I don't know. That wouldn't surprise me. But for those that don't know what the Elimination Chamber is, it's a 6-man match where they start off with 2 in the ring. There's 4 pods, and after I believe it's about 5 minutes, then each pod gets opened up, and 1 more wrestler is allowed into the match. Last person standing wins the match.
And this dawned on me too, thinking about it. You can't have a Roman Reigns match because he has to be in the Elimination Chamber, doesn't he?
You would think. This is going to be intriguing. I'm curious to see where the road is going to lead with these guys, because there's a lot of possibilities, a lot of different directions they could take this. Do you just have Roman go into WrestleMania with both belts? Is that rumor of Seth Rollins possibly taking one of the titles and then Cody beating him, so you keep Cody away from?
I mean, can you say to Roman Reigns, you know what? we're stripping you of one of the belts. You decide which one, and that's going to be the winner of the Elimination Chamber gets that belt, and then Reigns can wrestle for the other belt.
Well, I think if they do it, Reigns will keep the Universal title. That's the one he's had the longest. So
It's
you don't break
it's
that
been on
streak.
SmackDown, yeah.
So, but there's some interesting possibilities coming up for Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania on the men's side. So, but I would recommend watching the match.